What's going on, guys? How you doing? This is comment section number 20. Wow. All right. And hopefully onto a better foot. Here we go. Alex Life's an Interview Part 2. Yard 9333. What's going on? You said, quote, if you can play jazz, you can play anything. Quote, I say, quote, playing jazz is playing anything. Oh, here we go. Because you can play anything you want over any chord, and no matter what it sounds like, it's jazz. Obviously ridiculous. I know there's a lot more to jazz, and I'm being facetious, but the worst concert I've ever attended was a Chick Corea concert, and I like him. Where the there's the qualifier, and I like him. Where the rhythm section played in 2 different time signatures, and Chick and the bass player were never in the same key, and they just did free form for an hour and 20 minutes without stopping, and that's all they played. It was god awful. What gig was this? When? When was this? Like, what year was this? What gig was this? Chick doing free jazz? I'm cool with free jazz. I like free jazz. I mean, I'm into lots of weird stuff like that. I also like just regular, just straight up, you know, like hard bop. You know, I like the Blue Note stuff. I like a lot of that. But I also like, you know, I was always more into like Herbie Hancock than Chick Corea. Chick Corea is great, fantastic, right? I got Return to Forever, into all that stuff. But still just something about like, something about Herbie Hancock, I just like him more than Chick Corea. I was always more on that side. Again, Chick Corea is freaking ridiculous. And also, Herbie Hancock can go out also. I mean, yeah, some of those, you know, Miles Davis concerts where they got weird, you know, I always remember, like, Live at the Plug Nickel. Just different things, you know, I mean, yeah, jazz, out jazz. Coltrane, yep, some of those later Coltrane records, Interstellar Space, obviously Eric Dolphy, right? Lots of the Ornette Coleman, right? Okay, playing jazz is playing anything. That's not accurate. Jazz has a language, just like rock has a language, just like blues has a language, just like pop has a language, just like, you know what I'm saying? Latin has a language. Jazz has a language, and if you're a jazz musician, specifically a soloist, you have that language and you know how to use it, manipulate it, you know how to speak it, you know, and then converse in it. If you're just playing anything, I mean, there's going to be a difference between somebody that's just playing anything and is a jazz musician versus somebody who's just playing anything and is not a jazz musician. Again, because of language. While yes, you can play any note over anything, that's not jazz specific. And also playing any note, so there's like an exercise that, you know, you can do or whatever. I was taught this, you know, where, you know, you're playing a chord, right? There's some chord going on in the background, and you start on every note on your instrument. Like, start a phrase on every note. And not all of them are going to sound nice when you first hit the note. Some of them are going to work, some of them are not. But the point is, it's what you do with it. Can you hit that note and then make it sound like it was on purpose? Because that's what professionals do. People that are really excellent, that's what they do. Because even people like Herbie Hancock make mistakes. And it's what they do with it that makes the listener think that was wrong, or that was a mistake, or, oh, wow, that was, you know, whatever, that was a little out, or that, wow, that was interesting, that was different. Stuff like that. So, yeah. I know that you're just, you know, joking around a bit. Anyways, all right, up next. Alex Life's an Interview Part 2. New World Man 66. What's going on? Jazz as a musical form tends to be all over the fucking shop as it's loose rather than tight. Totally disagree. Musical diarrhea is a harsh but fair alternative term for the genre. Totally no. Totally wrong. I mean, come on. That's ridiculous. This is a ridiculous statement. Fully ridiculous. It's not all over the effing shop. As a musical form, how do you mean that? You just mean that there's like big band and swing and hard bop, bebop, hard bop, cool. You know, are you talking about like how it's like evolved and the different like sub genres of jazz? Is that what you mean? Which is like kind of no different than rock and how that's evolved into metal, heavy metal, extreme metal, etc., etc., etc. You know, like hard, you know, all the different types of rock. As it's loose rather than tight. I would not say it's, I mean, it can be loose, but this is no different than any other type of music, honestly. I mean, to play loose as opposed to tight is just, I mean, that could just depend on the band, like literally. I just completely disagree. I'm kind of like, okay, there may be loose bands and loose players, but stylistically it's not specifically loose. I don't think that Duke Ellington's band is specifically loose. I would call them tight. I would also say that Miles Davis's various groups, pretty tight, even though they're all improvising like mad, they're tight with it, you know? That speaks to people like Tony Williams and the rest of them. You know, it's the job of all of them, right? So I think that that's completely wrong. But, you know, you have to know jazz and listen to jazz to get that, right? To understand that. And if, you know, you're not into jazz, or you haven't found the jazz that you're into is probably more what the saying should be, because that's really all it is. I'm positive every person on this freaking planet would like jazz if they find the jazz that they're into. No different than they would like country music if they found the country that they're into. You can't just be like, I don't like country music. And that's the most generic. I was like that too, right? I was like that, right? The most generic, everybody says that kind of thing. I don't like country music. It's like, well, maybe if you listen to old ass country music, or maybe if you like outlaw country stuff. Maybe you're just not into the new pop country stuff or whatever. You know, maybe there's a specific lane of country music that you're into. There probably is. I bet you if you dig into it, there's something that you would find that you would like. And that's what I have been doing since I was fucking 12, 13 with music. You have to dig for what you like, you know? And I get off on that. On when you find it, you're just like, this is incredible. Oh my God, this is incredible. This is sick. You get the rush. Not everybody cares about that. You know, not everybody cares about music in that kind of way. And I get it, because it doesn't pay monetarily to do that. You know, it doesn't, you know. It's just, that's what I'm into, you know, or that's what somebody else is into or whatever. They hear something and they're just like, wow, this is freaking incredible. It just blows your mind. You're like, holy what? This is sick. Really, though, you have to find it. And again, I was doing that in the early 90s. So just getting the internet and a computer, searching online in weird places for music that I'd never heard before, and finding stuff that I thought was cool or not. And I still do it to this day. That's literally what I'm doing on this channel to me. Literally. Literally. You know? So, yeah. Anyways. All right, here's another. Alex Lifeson interview part 2. Less is more. Good job. What's happening? Alex solo on Free Will Smokes. This guy is a prince of a human being. Love Alex. I am a longtime Rush fan. Gen 1974. And some of their shows' live renditions are hard to listen to. They are people, not machines. They make mistakes. There, I said it. I mean, this is accurate. I mean, honestly, it's freaking accurate. To say otherwise is you just like totally. It's like. Okay, there are musicians that do this. It's not just musicians, but because I know musicians, I've been around them for freaking ever. It happened specifically in college a lot. It happened in college to me a lot. That's when I really started noticing it. It was just like, where people are really just up other people's ass, kind of, you know. It's just like, I don't know how to say this without being sexually explicit. I have tried to describe this on the channel before, but it just keeps coming up. I just don't like it, because it's just like, they're just people Like, everybody's just people, and yeah, everybody's at different levels and different skill sets and different skill levels and stuff like that, and that's great. That's amazing. Cool. And people work really hard. Amazing, right? Fantastic. Not trying to take none of that away. But if you're just, like, totally up their ass, or, like, I always think of, like, the self-pleasuring and, like, the like, you know, like, all that kind of thing. Especially when it's like that, it's just like a freaking circle jerk, and I'm just like, I can't deal with it, because I'm just like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? What are we, like, what? Like, you could appreciate things and you could say it's amazing and just like, wow. But then there's like other levels of that. And that's where it's just, it gets too far for me and I can't. So, yeah. Anyways. Whatever. All right. Alex Life's in the interview part 4. Joe 77806, what's happening? I feel like every time he's questioned on an unconventional choice, Alex is like, huh? What are you talking about? Who cares? He's self-taught, apart from a year or so of classical guitar lessons from a friend when he was a teenager. Says he can read music, but not very fast. I'm actually surprised he can read music. Why does he need to read music? He's in Rush. Like, why would you need to read music? I mean, that's amazing if you can, but, like, why would you even need to? Like, even myself, like, I haven't needed to read music. And I used to be able to read music like you can read words on a book. Like, first time right through, just play right through. You know, first time. But it's just not, unless you're doing specific kinds of gigs, it's just not a skill that's super necessary. Again, it depends on the kind of gigs you're doing. Anyways. That's interesting. One of the lessons, but not very fast. And in one of the lessons he's given on YouTube, he doesn't even know the name of one of the chords he's playing. And yet guitarists are commenting that they'd swap their knowledge of theory in a second to play like he does. And even that learning too much theory can stifle creativity. I wouldn't say that, which I thought was interesting. I wouldn't say that at all, in my opinion. To me, creativity is a muscle. Just like anything else, you need to work at it, you need to work on it, you need to work on it. I don't think that learning theory, all that is just putting a name to a sound. For the most part. I mean, there may be more to it and all that kind of thing. I know theory, right? I don't talk about it too much on here, because to me, you can get that anywhere and everywhere on the internet, right? Go to Rick Beato, go to who, you know, like whatever. But to me, yeah, theory's everywhere, so you don't really need another theory person. I don't think that putting a name to somebody, when you hear a sound and you're like, oh, wow, that's F sharp major with a 4 and a flat 7. Whatever, that's the sound, you know, that he's playing. He's playing 1 5 octave 3 4 flat 7. Cool, you know, or whatever. It's like, okay, he's playing this. It's this kind of sound that's like pentatonics. These are like pentatonic licks, or like blues scale licks, or whatever. It's just putting a name to a sound. That doesn't stifle creativity. No different than you're a teacher, you put a name to all your students. It's the same thing. So when you see their face, you're like, oh, that's Tommy over there. It's really the same thing. And instead of your eyes and seeing Tommy, it's your ears and it's hearing flat 7, or hearing diminished, or hearing, you know, a major 7 chord, or hearing a blues scale. That's literally all it is to me. I guess it encourages the repetition of conventional patterns, while Alex likes playing around with weird tunings and so on, and says here that he's always looking for something different. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. Right, blah, blah, blah. That was the part that I actually understood from what you were saying here. Yeah, I mean, you know, everybody is going to fall into their patterns or whatever. That's all music is patterns. And if you want to mess around with new patterns and find new patterns and stuff like that, there's a couple of things you could do. I would say 2 main things that you could do, but one of them it's really one main thing, and that's transcribe. What does that mean? Put on a record, listen to what they're playing, be like, wow, that's amazing, and then figure out literally what they're playing note for note. Whether that's you write it down, like notation-wise, or you're literally just figuring it out, playing it until you can play it with them, right? Transcribing, the answer is, I say it all the time, the answer is always on the recordings. All the answers to music is on the recordings. And then the other thing you could do is you can get some, you know, there's all kinds of music books, classical, etc., where you can play and find all different kinds of patterns and then turn that into, you know, people turn that shit into musical exercises, etc., etc., etc. I'm sure I have a ton of them back here, you know, just books of music stuff, and that's where you would get it. Okay, reaction. Rush, turn the page. Wow, bringing it back. Xavier, what's going on? There are two types of people on Earth. People who are initially ambivalent about Hold Your Fire, but then gradually fall in love with it over the course of many years, and two idiots. I assume that this is, you know, an insult comment at me because I was like, forget this album. And yeah, okay, there's okay things on the album, but why would I have to turn this on where I could put on Permanent Waves and just be freaking blown away and actually really, really fully inspired and just like, this is amazing. I want to go play music right now. Versus, you know, let me try and get into this. And you know what? This is all right. This is okay. It's not that bad. Maybe when I'm, you know, in my 60s, I'll love Time Stand Still because I'll be in my 60s. You know, okay, fine. Anyways, I think there's only one idiot and it's the comment. Anyways, I'm just messing around. Okay, all right. Rush the Last Hurrah, Part 3. Sid 7088, what's going on? So what? They love their favorite band. For someone who has supposedly met so many people and been all over the country, you seem easily shocked that a band could have such diehard fans. I'm actually not. I'm totally not. It's not about that at all. It just weirds me out. That's all. It's just weird. I'm not saying I'm at like Neil Peart level where I just don't want to, you know, like that kind of thing, because some of that seems a little bit weird. And, you know, maybe if I met the guy, you know, it'd be different. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I've talked to and run into all kinds of crazy people. All kinds of crazy people. And it's not that I'm easily shocked about it at all. It's just when you're meeting people like that, it's different than seeing people. They're not in your space. You know, when you're watching something like this and you're watching somebody act in a certain way like that, where I'm like, wow, this is like crazy fanaticism. And some people get it. Some people are really into it. That's their thing, whatever. And, you know, then, you know, there's me where it's like, I don't know that I'm crazy fanatical like that about anything. Like I said in the video, maybe music, but for the most part, like even that, like I've been doing it for so long, you know, you just, you know, like anything else, some aspect of Jade that comes in, you know, but I still, like, even just doing all of this, I still get excited about music. I love music. I have always loved music. You have to keep that going. You know, you have to nurture it. And by listening and finding new music to me and finding the cool stuff that I like, that keeps it going. Because when you hear that stuff, it's no different than when you're a kid and it first starts happening. You're like, what is that? I want to do that. That's really cool. That's amazing. I want to do that. It still happens when I hear stuff and I really like it. I'm like, man, this is really cool. This is cool. See, this is cool. A lot of what you listen to is not cool. It's just okay. That's just, I just see it as normal. There's so much music out there. How could it all be amazing? It's not. It's not. Some music has a time and a place. Maybe when it came out, it was amazing, but then as things develop and, you know, like music develops, it becomes uncool or not cool or weird or different or whatever, you know, it falls out of fashion, things like that. And other things just are timeless. It's like, man, this is incredible. This could have been written yesterday, you know, whatever, things like that, right? It's not like, yeah, I'm not shocked that there's weirdos. I'm a weirdo. Okay? You know? So it's all good. I'm not shocked. Thanks for your concern though. Okay. What's up? Next, JHC 2093. What's happened? Forgive me for noticing you mentioned the things that people hold dear and you not really being of that mindset, but in your leaving for the LA gig post from today, you talked about the bases on the wall that don't travel, especially when vintage. So you do have some objects you hold dear and want to protect. See the dichotomy? Oh, dichotomy. Wow, there's a word. No, it's not the same. It's not the same. Here's why. I'm not specifically trying to destroy my stuff. You know, but that being said, you know, like there are things that, I mean, that's really all it has to do with. I'm not trying to destroy it. I don't clean it. That instrument, that vintage instrument, I don't like take care of things in that kind of way. If it falls on the ground, which it has plenty of times, I'm not like, you know, it's not like that for me. But at the same time, I'm not specifically trying to just get it broken or ruin it or any of that. That's all. That's all. To me, it's not the same. You know, to me, it's not the same. This guy underneath, David Needle, 1840, what's happened? Good call. We all have things that make us happy in life. No one has the right to tell someone else you can't do what makes us happy. Yeah, of course. Plus, it's a small snippet of those people's lives that they dedicate an entire basement to. Sorry. No one can tell what but yes, you're accurate. You're right. No one can tell what the rest of these people lives consist of. For God's sake, Getty put a bunch of time watching and collecting baseball stuff. Yeah. See, he's into all the baseball stuff, which I think is really cool. You know, I mean, there was a time where if there was any sport I'd be into, it'd be baseball, because I, you know, grew up playing baseball, was into baseball. You know, my dad tried to get me into basketball, and I played soccer. I was into soccer. I mean, I played basketball a little bit, but it wasn't my sport. I'd rather baseball. Anyways, but I left all that stuff to go and do music. You know, when I got to high school, it was like, I felt like it was one or the other, and I chose music. So I stopped paying attention to the Yankees, you know, like stopped paying attention to sports. So anyways, one commenter on this thread might call that sick and twisted. I love how people think their behavior patterns are better than someone else's just because they think it's obsessive. Rush on, eh? I mean, I'm not saying any of that at all. I don't know if I come off as like a better than you kind of thing or whatever, but it's truly not like that. You can do what you want. So can I. That's all I ask for. Just don't put your shit on me. You could do what you want. I don't care. You're not hurting anybody else. I don't care. Be as weird as you want. Don't care. So I think that maybe reading a bit into this too much, maybe. But anyways, that's what I got. Cool. Oh, and one last thing. This was Rob Shaw. Rob, what's going on? Hey, Justin, tonight I'm trying eggplant rollatini for the first time, and this got me thinking, which I don't know what that is. Maybe if I look it up. What is your favorite Italian dish, and what is Camilla's favorite Italian dish to cook? What is your best couple's overlapping favorite dish? And Camilla said steak pizzaiolo because I love it. So I grew up with this dish, which I'm sure is not cooked correctly, whatever, called steak pizzaiolo, and I've had it at other restaurants, not often though, because I usually can't find it anywhere. But let me see, can I see images of what this is? Steak pizzaiolo, and it looks like pizza iola, right? That's how it looks. So how this all looks when I'm just looking on Google Images, it's like, okay, it's sauce, it's a steak, it's sauce, and you know, there's stuff in the sauce. So how I always had it, which was my dad and my grandfather and all that, 100% Italian, Brooklyn Italians, right? Was rice, white rice, steak on top, tomato sauce over all the damn thing, mushrooms in there. It's basically it. It's basically it. But you could do whatever you want. I think I had it somewhere where it was like steak chunks and it was just sauce. There's no rice. Like all these dishes that I'm seeing right here, there's no rice. So I don't know if that was like some add-in thing that they decided to do, you know, whatever. Like, again, anybody can make it out there. See, here's one where there's pasta underneath. Here's another one where there's pasta underneath. Right, yeah, so there's some here that have pasta underneath. I had one where it was steak, the tomato sauce, and like peppers and onions and different veggies, stuff like that. So I just always liked it because I grew up with it. It was my favorite growing up. Like my brother's favorite was chili. At the time, I didn't like beans, so I would always pick out the beans, which is ridiculous. But, you know, I didn't like beans and I was kidding, you know, like, so I would just pick out the beans. I like beans now, by the way. Of course, you needed to know that. So that's my favorite. And Camilla doesn't specifically like it, but she's an amazing wife, so she makes it for me. We don't eat it that often, actually. I used to eat it much more often. Now we maybe eat it twice a year, maybe. you know, like on my birthday and on Father's Day, basically. So, okay, anything else? A favorite Italian dish? Yeah, I mean, I'll eat anything. I mean, I eat basically anything. Don't care. I'll try anything. We really like sushi. I know that's not Italian, but you know, yeah, all kinds of stuff. Anyways, very cool. Yeah, there's some good. That is something, right? I did just come back from California. Literally everything that I ate there was amazing. Probably the worst thing that I had was the In-N-Out, which is incredible. I mean, second I landed, I got the rental car and I went to In-N-Out, and then I went to the guy's house that I was staying at, and I ate it, and I was like, yeah, this is great, this is cool, this is fine. But then we went out to breakfast at this place the next day, and it was freaking fantastic. Just the food in California versus the food in Florida is no competition. I mean, even when I lived in Boston, no competition. The food in California is freaking fantastic. It's just great. I don't care if it's a hole in the wall. I don't care if it's, you know, like whatever. It's just really, people know how to use seasoning, you know. I don't know what it is. It's just a lot better. That being said, we've eaten at plenty of places down here, and there are very good places down here. Especially there's an Italian place that I'm thinking of specifically that's a really good, like really good. So, you know, there's stuff. It's cool. Anyways, thank you guys. I'll catch you in the next video.